Podcasting with Ceri Jones.
Hi guys, and welcome to this week's podcast. Well, another season and another year come to an end. So for this week's episode, I put together extracts from all the episodes from the past year. If you're new to the podcast, there are over 230 episodes to listen to, or sitting at the Vice, looking forward to the new season. In the meantime, sit back, pour a glass, and enjoy my summary of 2025. 205, Darren Williams.
In the morning, we'd fished down more towards the point of the Duras, and I was with Des James, and we always meet for dinner. Do you know the Schoolhouse Bay with the tunnel?
Yes.
Right, that's where more or less we was, in between the islands and there.
All right.
And I'd missed a big one.
Looks fishy there, doesn't it?
Oh, well, I mean, Peter who fishes if all his life, that's his area. He always says, I love it there.
The boulders below you.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, this fish had come over my flies and missed my flies. It was huge. So I went over there. I even went over there with a dapping rod just to see if it was, because it was sipping up my mayflies. And anyway, it disappeared anyway. And a big fish, took a mayfly on my left-hand side. I mean, it was probably 10 feet from the engine.
Oh.
And Des said, turn the boat around. But by the time Des said, turn the boat around, I'm already in a circle, doing a massive circle. And, of course, I got the boat spun round roughly where I thought he was. And the second cast, I dibbled the flies across, and that become sweet as a nut, took a top dropper.
Wow.
And all I saw was a tail. Well, you've had double figure fish. All I saw was a fish trying to get water, trying to get, back into the water. And it just, this big tail flapping in midair.
That's incredible, isn't it?
Oh, my God. My
tail.
heart was in my mouth.
206, Andrei Yurosevic. And so you had this fish must have been a good 2 pound anyway. And,
nice.
And then we literally, straight away, we stopped fishing. We got the barbecue out and we cooked it, right? And I was so disappointed. It was flavourless. Now, I've spoken to one or two chefs over the years since, and they said most sea fish, you really want to eat them the next day. Is that right?
Absolutely correct. Not only the next day. On average, sea fish gets in its prime, culinary prime, after day 3 or beginning.
All right.
On day 3, especially Dover sole, but because fish first needs to go through rigor mortis, the tissue needs to relax and flavors have to develop. So there is such a thing as too fresh fish. So when you buy fish for fish handlers and fishmongers, obviously you want the freshest fish possible because you are more concerned about the use by date and the fish's shelf life, right? So from a commercial point of view, you want the freshest fish, if possible, twitching if possible, right? But from a culinary point of view, you want fish that have gone through that process of let's call it enzymatic decay, but like the onset of enzymatic decay when things start breaking up within the body and start developing flavor.
207, Don Mansell.
I moved into a village called Upton, and what is quite ironic, the two match together. At Wimbleball, there's an arm called the Upton Arm.
Yeah.
I actually was, at the time when I moved down here at 16, Wimbleball wasn't built. It was still a forest. It was a wooded area, and where the dam lies now, there was a house there. My house, my dad's house, where we lived, We were no more than 2 minutes walk from the River Hadio, and that is one of the main feeds of Wimbleball.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's where it started. I originally, then when I came down here, I was a course fisherman.
Right.
Didn't have a car. I had a motorbike, a little 185 Honda, and used to get around and that lot. I used to go course fishing on the River Tone, local areas and stuff like that. Watched it being built over. Well, it started in 1917. The fishing was opened in 1980. I actually watched it build, like the phoenix out the ground. It came out. Because I was so local, I thought, well, I've got to take up fly fishing. I can walk to the water in a quarter of an hour, 15 minutes. Absolutely brilliant. But I've never done fly fishing. So I've got a lot of, I have to pay a lot of respect to a shop in Dulverton, which was 6 miles away, called Lance Nicholson's Guns and Tackle.
208 buzzers and duckfly. I'm not an entomologist, but I'll tell you a little bit about the background of the pupa. There's 3 stages us anglers need to think about, and that's the larva, the pupa, and the adult. Now, the larvae are known as bloodworm, which bury themselves in the mud on the lake bed. And it's quite a vivid red colour. And due to the hemoglobin in their blood, and when they turn into the pupa and make their way to the surface, it's only then they actually turn dark. And this is the interesting part for anglers. Because when they get to the surface, the thorax splits and the adult emerges, and leaving then the shucks on the water, which we all see often, especially the following morning, after an evening of buzzer hatching activity. Now, the adults are mosquito-like, and they're non-biting, and you can't mistake them because once they get near you, you hear the buzz. I think that's one of the reasons we call them buzzers. However, when you're in places like I've experienced around the islands of the Corrib, you see clouds of them above the trees, and you can actually hear the buzzing. It's quite a sight to see, to be honest. Now, they come in all sizes. And what I am here in Wales, we don't seem to get any large buzzers. They're all quite small, even 16s and 14s, and at best 12s. But in England and Ireland, I found a different story. I've seen some huge ones in Ireland, especially the Corrib, notably the Campbell buzzer. But after saying that, when I say buzzer, in Ireland they're known as duckfly. It's exactly the same, it's just a different term for it. And I think, to be honest, the reason why they call them the duckfly is because when they hatch, the ducks feed on them. So it's been known for years as the duckfly. 209, David Hoppy. So the method you were having success with, is it got backdrift in this, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you had wind, obviously.
Yeah. So you have your drogue out, the opposite direction to if you were fly fishing. So we're facing
the drogue now.
Facing the drogue. That slows the boat down, and then we're dropping the jigs. At the moment, we've got 20 gram jig on, but if it was windy, you'd go up to 30, 40, 50 grams, just to get you right down, because we're fishing deep. We're on Graffham at the moment, fishing 20 metres, but if it was Rutland, you'd be fishing between 20 to 30 metres, which is pretty deep. So you need that heavy lure to get down.
And do you find you really need the fish finder?
So, yes and no. When I first started out, I didn't have the fish finder. A heavy trip, I was catching fish, and I was just kind of working out the sort of areas, and I was drifting those same sort of areas, but with no real science other than, well, it's watercraft, isn't it, like fly fishing. And then I invested in a fish finder, which was really useful, but I think my catch rate reduced. And I don't know if that's because you become so focused on trying to repeat the same drift if you've had a chance or a fish, and then you're not covering the same amount of water. I don't know.
So it's not necessarily you're looking for fish, you're just looking at the depth, really, and features. Depth
and features. Although when I had this fish on Graffham last month, I only caught that fish because when I was motoring, I saw a shoal of, I assume, roach or perch, sat at about 15, 20 metres. I could see it on the fish finder, so I stopped the boat, did 3 or 4 drifts, focusing on that shoal of fish. Didn't have anything. Was it 4th or 5th time lucky? I then had a zander. So there was a zander that sat behind that shoal of bait fish.
210, Di Jones and Matthew Pate.
So I was just saying, when we do trips like on boats, like we always go, something happens.
We almost sank a boat in Chew, didn't we?
We almost sank a boat in Chew.
How do you manage that?
There's a wall going through the lake, isn't there?
It's the sunken road, I think.
Yeah, that's it.
Is it Herons Green Bay?
They did tell us in the morning, boys, if you're going out, it's going to get a bit rough.
Yeah.
You're going out on your own accord. I right over, that's off we went now. Motoring up the top end of the lake was fine going up. Coming back down into the wind, and the boat just started going up and down, and poof. We should the rudders and they just slam in the bottom of this wall, like.
The boat?
Well, we shit ourselves. We thought we were going over.
I didn't know there was a road there.
Yeah.
Must have been low, was it?
Yeah, right down it was.
Yeah. Credog, what time before last, we went to Credog and Di stuck a big black snake in his ear and he fainted on a boat. And I couldn't wait to put it out. I was chuffed to bits.
Was it barbed?
Yeah.
Barbed, yeah.
It was only barbed fly in his box. I was busting to get it out with the pliers. I couldn't wait to get it out.
Where did you stick in your ear? Because you got those
Straight through the top of
on
that.
the top.
Straight through it went.
I was gutted because as
sorry
I,
if you go straight through it.
yeah, I was gutted because as I got my pliers out, the guy sort of like he must have like worked his way out and he come out on his own. I was tamping because I wanted to put it out, like, do you mean? Yeah, so that was that.
You took a blob to the back of the head now.
That was in Farmo, that was. I remember when I went away with the Ospreys the first day, and it was Pasty, one of the boys, he's like a local legend in the valleys, like, and with us, he's like, and it was the first time when I first got in the team, the Welsh team, got friends with Pasty, and like, Pasty's been a friend of ours ever since for like 10 years now, and he's like, well, he's more or less like our grumpy old uncle, like, innit? And I was standing on the wall in Farmo, and again, it was only barbed blob I had in my box. I had a 40 plus die 5 on, and I wanged it out, and I could just feel, I thought, oh. I know the little half semicircle on the back of a hat. It hit smack straight in there. If it'd been like an inch up or inch down, it would hit the band.
Oh, yeah.
So it hit the only piece of skin on the back of my head, basically. I know I got a big head, right? Yeah. So I was walking up the wall end, so I had the reel in, and I was walking up the farm end with like a blob stuck in my hand attached to my rod.
It was orange, wasn't
It was big orange or sunburst or something like that it was. Mm-hmm. And then I remember Dan and Williams, Des and all the Osprey boys, and who basically couldn't wait to put it out my head, and they did the old leader trick where you push it in.
211, Gregor Fleming. But your last international I want to talk to you about and pick your brains as well, because I was over last year, the same time the international was on, in Lough Ennell, and you won gold there, didn't you?
Yeah, we got gold there, we did that, yeah. That was a good run as well there. It was tough fishing though, but what a lovely place to fish. It really was. The water's crystal clear.
It's a tough old place to catch fish. I've only been a couple of times. There's a good friend of mine, and he's a patron of the channel, Rob Connor. He fishes it a lot. And he was surprised when he found out that you were having the international there. He said, oh, geez, if you'll have one fish per angler, they'll do really, really well.
Really well, yeah.
So how many did you have for the team?
On the team, we had 13.
But the practice days were tough as well, I guess.
Oh, the practice days were tough. I only had one fishing practice, and it was a rainbow trout. And that was on the very first day.
I remember you were saying, I never knew they were in there.
Nah, nobody, well, the Irish guy had out in the boat, he's like, it's not a rainbow, there's no rainbows in here. I'm playing the fish, and I was like, that's 100% a rainbow, and sure it was, aye. I was on the phone to his pals, this guy's caught a rainbow.
Must be a hatchery or something nearby.
I think there's a fish farm up one of the burns, well up, and it's maybe possibly get out from there.
Patterns, what would they be?
Right, okay, so the first one I would say would be Fab, a GM12 Fab, and my other fly would be a Vicar Buzzer, a Dial Back, and then my other two would be a Foam Daddy and a Pink Tail Grunter.
212, Kevin Sheridan. To pick your brains about these two flies which you put up the last couple of weeks, really, and you did send me actually a picture as well on WhatsApp, and that's the Mayfly Nymph you got. Is that your own tie-in then you've come up with?
Yeah, that's my own tie-in.
Have you fished it yet, or is it something you're working on? Because I'm going to have to try that.
That fly has probably maybe the last 3 years, 4 years I've been using it. It came about by watching a video of Mayfly nymphs, and I noticed the thorax in it was kind of brown looking, and I had latex here, and I started putting it onto it. I started using myself first, had fish on it, and then I gave the fly to a Scottish man who fishes Sheelan, and he said, "Yeah, great." And it was 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. I gave him the patron, more patrons, and I went in for dinner. The exact same place where we went first to eat, near the old boat pier.
All right, yeah.
And within 45 minutes, he had fish on all three patrons. Yeah, the same patron, top, middle, and pint fly.
Oh, I see what you mean. You had you had 3 mayfly nymphs on. 213, Andy Kitchener.
There's been a marked change in the market over the last decade. You'll see a lot more of the materials, the natural materials. The Chinese have been buying up market share. You look at the quality of the capes. There used to be a jungle cock farm in the UK. That disappeared, and
Ransford.
a lot of it. Yeah, a lot of it's now illegally imported. Yeah. With a 7-year-old grandson, I'm concerned where the future will be for him. So as an angler, I want something repeatable. If I buy something today and in a year's time, I want to know it's the same. It suddenly hasn't changed in colour or density. And as a grandfather, I want to know, what am I going to leave my grandson? Is he going to be able to see a wild jungle cock? You read some of the books on history of what we as an industry have done. You look at the Feather Thief and books like that. It's amazing how haberdashery and fly tying decimated the natural world.
214, Stan and Chris McKeon. You've both been fishing for how many years?
65.
65 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Give or take a year or two, and that's it. Yes. Yeah.
Have you got a competitive side, both of you?
Yeah.
Reasonably competitive.
Do you both fish competitions at all now?
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
Exclusive,
yeah.
competitions, and then in between is pleasure, really.
But I rely on Stan now for flies. I don't tie flies myself.
Don't you?
No. But we get the pattern, spoon the fish, whatever, and see what he can tie as closest to whatever the fish is.
Do you still tie Stan?
Oh, I do.
Oh, yeah.
I enjoy it. It's relaxing, yeah.
So where are you both from? You're from Mullingar?
Oh, from Mullingar, within a mile of the lake here.
So how did it all start?
Chris started.
One Sunday I was going to Sheelan on my own, and I was looking for company, and I said to Stan, I said, will you come with me for the day, Oh, no, I have no interest, So I said, I get a rod for you, the whole lot. So he talked him into it. He came with me for the day, and he landed 7 fish that day, and I never got one. And
beginner's luck.
But a week later, he had his own new rod, line, everything set up. And from that day on, he never looked back. He's into fishing. Yeah.
So how old would you have been then?
I was probably about 16, 15 or 16.
20.
Yeah.
They're about 4 years older than Stan. That's about it now. From then we've been fishing together. Have an odd row.
236, Davy Wotton. Where would you want to be, Davy, to make your last cast?
New Zealand. It's South Island, because fishing for them browns there is quite unlike anywhere else. But you kind of asked me a tough question here, in that sense of the word. So far as the requirement of skill to catch those fish is one thing, because you make one bad mistake or one error, they're gone. You got one shot, pretty much that. But to be honest about it, I guess I would tell you to fish out on the lake, be it Corrib or Mask or Coney, that, because I really do miss that. And so I guess the last day of my life, if I had a choice, I'd say maybe a day on the Corrib when things was good and the fish was active and I think there's nothing quite like lock-style fishing, which here people really have no knowledge of, and they can't really do it, to be honest about it, in most places. But there's just something magic about fishing a team of flies and drawing a fish up to the drop or whatever. There's nothing quite like that, I don't think. You know, I wouldn't want to be fishing in a bloody reservoir full of stuff and rainbows, I'll tell you that.
No. 216 hanging in the margins. Now, I was at an advantage over Alan now because I was on the inside. Now, I'd much prefer when I'm fishing along shore to be in the inside. I don't mind how close I am, I just love hugging the sides and drifting along a bank. Now, sometimes when you fish in these conditions and these techniques, you might go along a bank, maybe 20, 30 yards, maybe more, nothing. And then you lit a pod of fish, bump, bump, bump. And then, so this was the case. It was just a case of waiting until you hit the pod. And then you knew that was a good area and you'd go back and forth over that area. And today was no exception. Now, because I was on the inside, and the technique I said I was using the dive 5. I was casting out as long a line as I could and leaving it go down. It's quite a fast sinker. And then the olive booby snake, which I had on, was following the line down. When you're pulling the line, it's almost curving down. So the fly is following, look, it's almost like as if it's swimming down, comes along the bottom and then back up. Now, this technique is deadly, especially as I was on the inside. I was fishing good water, probably about 10 foot or so, something like that. So my fly was going down to the bottom and then fishing in mid-water. And it wasn't long, I was into good fish again. Numerous rainbows came my way. Nice fish, they were 217, Craig Bar. What would be your go-to bays or features or spots on Graffham?
One of my favourite areas, which consistently provides fish for me, is between the Seat and Sludge Point and into Gaines Cove. Very consistent area for me. I went straight there last week with a guy and we were getting some cracking fish on buzzers. We were talking, decent overwintered 3-4 pound rainbows. There's always fish there from the Seat to the Sludge Point in that bay, and Gaines Cove's always fishing there. Very consistent spot.
What about savages? Have you done any good in savages?
Only ever once, to be fair. That was many years back when I did an England Eliminator, and there were hundreds of fish marauding after pin fry on the mouth of savages, and I'm talking loads of fish. And I was the only one that day to actually bag up in an England Eliminator with my 8 fish. That's when we killed 8 fish those days, so that tells you how long ago that was.
Yeah.
And but not really. No, I don't really venture there, to be honest, because I always find it tends to be too weedy when I ever go in there. But I know it normally harbours some decent fish, but it's not sort of a go-to place for me, really. It's quite a narrow area as well, and once it gets weeded, then the place is...
Does G-Boy still produce fish?
You can always normally say you can guarantee a fish at G-Boy, but just of late, I mean, I'm talking this season and a little bit of back end of last year, it's not been as prolific, I've found. Don't really know why. I mean, there is always fish there, but whether it's the stocking, whether they're putting more down at the bottom end at the stumps there, but the stumps has been a very good place. I mean, you mentioned David Hoppy earlier. We fished together down there for the Firm Feather this year, and David actually won it with a decent sort of 3 pound fish in his bag. I mean, I think 4 of us had a limit, including myself, but David had a bigger fish and won it. So
219, Arrow, Corrib and guiding. But over the last couple of weeks, it's been calm. You've been lucky to have anything of a hint of breeze, even like a 4 mile an hour breeze would be something good to look forward to, but there's not even that. So in the morning, it doesn't look attractive to go out, but it's plain to see as soon as you go out on the lake, the shucks are everywhere. And when I say in the mornings, probably head off 10 o'clock, something like that, usually out to the lake. So it's plain to see that there's been a lot of activity in the morning at hatches, even maybe as early as 5 or 6 o'clock. But if you're like me, I don't normally get up that early. So really speaking, we've missed a lot of the action of the fly hatching off, and they're in the trees by now. So the idea is then to look for the islands where you get most activity with the mayflies. And the best way to do this is to look at the gulls and look at the birds, because even if there's no fly hatching off, the birds know the areas, and even if you don't see the fly, the birds coming down picking off fly in the water. Usually that is when there's a good wind. Actually, you see them coming down competing with the trout for the fly. You always see them hovering around the islands waiting for them to come off. And the key then is to look for the lee side of the island for obvious reasons. For any breeze that comes, it will blow the mayflies onto the water. So this is where the likelihood most of the trout will be, waiting for the fly to come off. And they could be, what you find is in the calmer conditions, the trout will stay quite close into the shore, waiting for the fly to be blown off. But on these big windy days, you could have the trouts going way back 100 yards down the drift, and they'll still come up waiting, looking for these fly to be blown onto the water. If you're enjoying this podcast and want to listen to more, please consider becoming a patron, where you will get weekly episodes and access to over 200 episodes and exclusive content. Visit patreon.com/casting with Kelly Jones. Plus this year I am guiding full-time on Lough Corrib in Ireland. To book a day, visit my website, lougcorrib.com. 220 June hatches. Now for me, there's probably 4, I would say, insects or hatches to concentrate on for this month. And I think the most talked about is without doubt the canis. Everyone thinks, June comes, the warm weather starts, early mornings, and the canis are out. Well, here in the west of Ireland, as I mentioned, has been blazing hot sunny days, flat calms. And in the mornings, when I'm going out on the boat, it's plain to see that the canis came early. Those warm, hot, sunny days which they love was a few weeks earlier than normal. And only time will tell, will they still come in June, or have they come and gone as well, like the mayfly? But the strange thing I've learnt with canis, in Wales, where most of my experience has been, canis comes in the evening, early evening really, and it's unmistakable, because when they come in numbers, and it's often your waders, your jacket is covered in these tiny little flies. Unlike a lot of hatches, success comes at the start of a hatch, because when fish come up and they start to feed, there's a better chance of catching them then. But as soon as the hatch gets into full swing, then things do get difficult. Because the fish then are spoilt for choice. There's so much fly in the water, and the chances of them taking yours get slimmer. 221 ferox and dabblers. So my 2 rods are out, and I'm starting to get a bit tired now. And often's the case here, when you're in the west, you're thinking, shall I stay out until dark, or shall I go to the pub? So I started to think, no, let's call it a day. It was 7 o'clock, I had a good few hours, I enjoyed my time, and I reeled in. And I started a motor back. Now, my boat at the moment is about halfway down the lake, and I was right up the top of the lake at this stage. So I knew it was going to be about 40 minutes motor back downwind. So I started the engine, and I was coming back. And then I could see the dark, dark clouds coming from the west. The sky was slowly getting black. I stopped the engine and just waited. And I've mentioned this before. There's a time you just know the fish are going to take. It's no coincidence. And when that softness comes in the wind, and there's almost like a mercuryness to the colour, to the waves, the sky goes black. I've had so many fish at this point, I thought I have to get those rods back out. So I drove over to one of my hotspot marks, which I was just about to pass, put the rods out, the roach at the back, and then started a row. knowing. 222, Darren Maguire.
I had a good fish on Sheelan. I had an 8 pound 14 ounce on the spent knot.
Nice.
Yeah, I weighed him and put him back. Oh, he was a beautiful fish. I was actually on the phone to my friend Kevin Kern, and I said to Kevin, I'm going to have to go, Kevin. I'm after seeing a monster. And he started laughing. He goes, he says, well, I hope you get him. And I turned the phone off, and I says, right, I could see him. He was about 60 metres in front of me. And I could see about 10 spent to the left-hand side, about 30 yards away, full line away. And I says, right, he's going to head for that slick. So I turned the boat so that I was pointing the front of the boat at the fish, upwind of him. And I says, right, I need to get this fly way in the distance of him now, and I know he's going to take them spent. Next thing I spot him, he's took one. He's took a second. I fired a full line down, landed it about probably 15 foot in front of him. And it was like slow motion. I thought he was never going to go down. And he went up, and he comes slow motion. Took him about 3 seconds to go down over it. And when I let him down, I said, I'm going to give him another second even. Well, I was down his throat. Well, I lifted in. Well, it didn't take him long to go to the back end because he hadn't much of it. And the next thing, I had to start the engine and all. He took out 30 yards of back and nearly to the end of the back end. Realised I didn't even have enough backing on me reel at the time.
223, Paul Proctor.
You know what it's like these days. You'll be the same. A lot of the listeners will be the same. You're continually checking weather patterns, river levels. You know, my toolbar, usually somebody's toolbar is made up of exciting things on the laptop. You know, dare I even mention porn? I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. You might edit that out. No, I'm joking. I'm not
going to edit it out. It's staying in.
But certainly more exciting things than weather stations. My toolbars, weather stations and river levels, you know, and consequently our rivers dropped really low and clear, and you could sight fish by polarising them like you do in New Zealand, for example. So I could see this fish, could physically see it, not only that, it was rising.
Right.
Anyway, I caught the fish, and as I always do when I hook fish, I give them side strain and try and steer them downstream as not to spook any fish that are unseen or might be close by upstream. Steered this fish away, and it was on a pool tail, and it was a nice sized fish. It run into the neck water in the pool below and downstream. So I had to follow it downstream, landed it, came back up to release the fish into the same pool. Just as I released it, I looked up, and another fish rose in exactly the same place. Another fish had already moved into that vacated lie. That's incredible.
224, sedge. It was always worth going out into the last hour. And what a fantastic time to be out on the lake on those balmy evenings. But you do want that hint of a touch of coolness in the air as well. You don't want that warm heaviness in the air. But I love this time of year, and the ideal conditions for me would be the hint of a breeze. Imagine now you go out in the evening, it's about 9 o'clock, you got that corduroy ripple, and there's a coolness in the air, but still warm, and you get fly coming off. And when we were out last night, you could smell the fresh grass being cut as the farmers were cutting the hay. The tractors were behind us, going up and down the fields. And in front of us, there were swifts coming down, looking and searching for food and fly. And as the evening goes on, you got that redness coming into the sky. And the only sound you hear are the ripples, kissing the gunnels of the boat as you're drifting down slowly, searching for fish. And then as the darkness comes, you're waiting for the hatch. And then all of a sudden, you get the smaller sedges first. You get these cinnamon sedges, which, you know, is a broad term. It's for the smaller sedge. 225, Kieran Connolly.
And I had the two of them out fishing, and English wasn't great with the woman. And she got everything wrong. I'd say
That's
the
right.
green Peter, and she called it the Peter Green. The Peter Green fly. But I told her, I set her up, and then I had her on the dry fly, and she says, I want to be attacked. Which you...
She wanted to...
Yeah. I'll never forget it. I was looking at her, I said, yes. Do you see that's Sad Swire's rod there now?
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah, that's his...
And he made it for you?
He did in 1974.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the fly you got on there.
I just took on... I'll have to get his steps.
No worries. I can see
Shut
it
up,
there.
we'll take it out the next day when we go fishing.
And this picture here.
Oh, there was a fishing competition on the pontoon bridge. Yeah. That's me up there by the yellow boat.
Where now?
With a little cap on me.
By
Up at
this,
the bow.
by this boat?
Yeah. That's me in the middle. Next to the man with the glasses.
Wow.
With the old Seagull engine.
And they're all timber frame.
Yeah,
Timber-
every
timber
boat there
boats.
is timber. And that was a new Mercury engine that German man bought.
226. Guide to Lochstell Wets. For instance, the sun is out, there's very little cover. And if there's like a west wind like there is now, you're casting your flies out and you're pulling, and the fish then are coming towards you and the sun is either above or behind you. So if they come in to follow your fly up the wind, they're going to miss it purely because the sun is so bright. They're facing the sun. So if you're drifting down on a lake where the sun is in the sky and you've missed one or two fish, best thing to avoid that is to cast or to face 45 degrees or as much as you can to the side, because then when you're pulling the flies, you're pulling it sideways to the sun and not into the sun. Well, funny enough, the two fish I had this morning, the sun wasn't out. The times I hooked the fish, a cloud came over. It was on the side I was fishing about 45 degrees. And it's then that they're likely to take. So the 2 points when fishing wets, to concentrate on the first few casts and the bob. 227. Owen Trill.
And I was in the river more one day, or by the bay, and I found it safe. I was flying up and down through it in the flood of water. And the guy said, be careful where you walk, it's very, very dangerous here. That's okay. I said, I'm from Galway, I fish to Galway. Oh, I do that once, never again, they nearly killed me. I nearly killed myself in it. But I said, it's not to take for granted. Just over 3 years ago, I took a turn down there.
Did you?
Yeah. I was walking out to where I was in the morning time, but I can't go any further because the water's got up more. The one gate, but every gate coming over. It's a very high gate, nearly equivalent to 2 gates of water. And I was wading up through in the middle of it the whole morning. So I came up in the last hour and a half, myself and Rocky boarded it. And myself and Rocky said, we'd rotate the fish past in the rock, because the others wants to be down the river. So I was well in. I didn't go where I was in the morning, because there's too much water in that. Stay in, level, nice calm water. If anything did happen, either one of us, we catch it or, because we're in the camp. And I walked out again. I just put my left foot down, rock went flying underneath me, and boom, I hit the water belt right down it. I got my wading staff, fired my rod in as far as I could. That's the first thing you know, fired in.
Into the bank?
Right in as far as I could. Goes with the current cutter, but it jammed it. So I got this wading stick, pushed myself in. I shouted out, Rocky! And Rocky caught me. So he just...
228. Andrew Eglon.
That 107 came from Houchins, yeah, and we specifically went to that lake because the owner, a guy called Tony, was very open to us fly fishing, and he was very open to us using the belly boats, which is the perfect storm for us.
Right.
So yeah, we've done a couple of trips. There's another lake up in Norfolk that we have fished with belly boats. They let us fish up there. And we've had fish that was the previous record was actually caught from the belly boat there, a guy called Stuart Smith at 79.
Wow.
So we knew it was a possibility to catch these big fish on the fly rod from a belly boat, which opens up a whole new world to the exhilaration is something that is hard to describe. Waist deep in water in pitch black, just twitching the fly line, and then you get a thumping take. It's.
I can imagine, because I've done both. I've done floor tubing or belly boating.
Yeah.
Never in the dark. But I've also done then sea trout fishing at night with a fly, and your senses are heightened. Any little twitch even, it's like a bit of electric shock going through. You can imagine something, up to like 100 pounds or plus taking it must be quite an experience. 229, Brian Martin.
It is the rivers, but it's also probably like I love my lakes as well. I as I said, I grew up on Lough Corrib, which is a big lake. I used to fish the Melvin. We had a boat up in the Melvin, so we used to fish it for the Sanahan, the Gillaroo, and got a few grills off it as well. So I do love the lakes as well. I probably love rivers a little bit more, but it's also a convenience piece at the moment. I got 3 kids. They're busy doing sports and schools, and I've got work going on. And a day in the boat, it takes a lot. Look, yourself, it takes a lot longer. You can't, unless you live right on the shores or something like I did in Lough Corrib. I pick the conditions. So if Saturday's good, I'll go fishing Saturday. If it's not good, I'll go fishing Tuesday or Wednesday. So I spend all summer looking at the weather apps, trying to spot when the right conditions that I want. And then I'm gone. So my equipment is very quick and ready to lift, and I could be sitting on the couch. We have a big tree out the front of the house, and I could be sitting there at 6 or 7 o'clock of a summer's evening. And if that tree's blowing and rustling around and it's going to be a windy evening, I'm probably not going anywhere. But all of a sudden, if that tree stops shaking and it starts to calm, my wife sees me doing it all the time. She sits beside me on the couch. She goes, "You're looking at the tree, aren't you?" "Yeah, I am." "You're going to the river?" "Yes, I am." And, within 5 minutes of me saying, yes, I'm going to the river, the stuff's in the car and I'm out of the driveway before before somebody changes their mind or a job has to be done or, something has to happen.
230, Martin McCoy.
And did about 4 casts and hooked this 4.5 brownie on a 20-foot cast, which was fun to say the least in the waves. So that was an amazing experience. And for all the trout that you've caught over the years, catching a trout that size, a wild trout, under those circumstances, I was making lots of noises and was very excited about the whole thing. Yeah. And John turned around and said, I thought you were meant to be a professional, but just excitement.
Yeah.
The excitement of the whole thing got to me. And so after, it was a good fight and got it in. And he sort of turned around and said, well, we haven't actually fished that drift properly. So he set the boat up. We drove back up again and set the drift up again. And as we were drifting down, I rose the second trout and missed him. He came up and I just lifted off. And he actually sat on the top of the water. He was in about 3 foot of water feeding on shrimp and hoglouse. And he just slowly moved off. And I dropped the line just at the end of the rod, basically, and gave 2 or 3 pulls, and the whole thing tightened up. So within about 10 minutes, I had a 4-pounder and a 3-pounder in the net, which was on the day, like on any day, but on a day like that, I knew I was safe for the team.
231, Paul Black.
Uncensored. I'm going to use that. I'm going to start putting that on the videos. You see the next video you go up, you'll see compliments of Ceri Jones at the bottom, uncensored.
Well, one of the things I wanted to chat to you about, it came from your videos and what you were saying, and I think the latest one was about Uist.
Oh, don't start me about Uist, Ceri. I'll talk for a week about Uist.
Yeah, so is it something you've done more than once? Is it, you've done it a few times, have you?
Yeah. I've got a good friend that stays in South Uist. Stevie Rogers is his name. Stevie Disby.
Yeah.
Stevie has he's got the caravan and that there, and he does fishing holidays and all that out of South Uist, and that was that was how I ended up going the very first time. And that's why he said to me, he says, you need to come over and experience this place. Like, you know what it's like. Everybody has a place that they love to go to, you know what I mean? And they'll talk it up and they'll tell you about it. And you just think, aye, right, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I used to say to Stevie. I said, aye, look, whatever. No, shut up and give me a headpiece. And he said, I'm telling you, come over and try it. And the very first time I went, I couldn't believe it. I fell in love with the place instantly. Didn't want to come home. My heart was breaking coming home in the ferry. See, leaving the place, knowing that I was going home and going back to work, I was just like, oh no.
232, guiding for ferox. Now, regards times, you know, if I'm taking somebody out on the fly, usually it's 10 till 5 o'clock. But with the ferox, it can be different. So if you want to fish, it's not necessarily those times rather, because sometimes, even though, you know, you can depend in, I always thought that the best time was early morning for the ferox, and I did start to catch fish early morning. But some of the big fish have been like 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, or 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. So it doesn't really matter. However, if you want to target to get your best option, you know, ideally before 1 o'clock, that time between 10 o'clock and 1 o'clock is a peak time. And then another peak time is the evening. So if you want to have a few hours in the evening, because as soon as that sun goes down, that is another key time. If you listen back to one of the podcasts I've done on ferox, fishing into the dark, as soon as that sun goes down, you've got a half hour and then it goes off. But usually if you're out in that time, there's a good chance, if nothing else, to get a take, or if you're lucky, it'll stick. That is another prime time. So we can arrange it to your time scale, and, you know, if you book a certain day, I can then, leading up to it, look at the areas, how is 233, Rob Redman.
Oh, when I hooked it, I knew, you know, straight away, you know, the take told me it was a big fish, but as soon as I tried to put the...
Tell me how it started. What sort of evening was it? Were the conditions right? Did you know the fish was there? What was the weather like when you went out?
Well, no, it was... No, the conditions were good. The temperature, I'd say the air temperature was about 14 to 15 degrees, which is great. And cloud cover night. You know, I couldn't fault the night. It was textbook sea trout night. Funny enough, I fished hard. Obviously, I said to you that the fish had only just started to come in, and you know, I knew there was a chance there was big fish coming in first. And sure, I was my guesses were right, because you know that fish. I knew as soon as I hooked him, you know, he was a big fish. The way the draw and the take was, you know, it wasn't a sharp take of a small sue-in. You know, I could tell it was a big sea trout.
Yeah.
The way he just drew the line away, and then all of a sudden it locked up, and then off he went. You know, downstream.
So you didn't know that fish was in that spot before? You didn't think, right, I knew this fish was there. It just come blind.
I knew there'd be fish there, and right. I knew there was potential.
234, Gavin Perry.
That particular day he dropped us off. Me and, there were three of us, me and another friend had got back to our tents after we'd set them up. And we got back and everything had been torn out of our tents and scattered all over the mountainside.
Bloody hell.
I think we were that hungry at that point. We were sort of, we were in a different planet, and we didn't really think much of it. And then that was it. We went back fishing after that, put our stuff back in the tent, went back fishing, had food, our one meal of the day, went to bed. And I can remember being woken up to this horrific noise in my ear. And it was like a screeching or a roar. So I was here in the tent with one friend. So I sort of, I nudged him. He woke up in a great panic. Whatever this thing was that was by my ear, there's another one at the bottom of the tent, scratching away at the bottom of the tent, trying to get in.
Freak out.
I can hear them running about the tents. There was loads of them, whatever they were.
So this must have gone on for 20 minutes or so. Us shouting, kicking the side of the tents, trying, put them off. And in the end, they went quiet, thankfully.
235, Colin Dodd.
The club has always been involved in it, like dating back to the origins of the club in 1904. I suppose that the key is in the name, really, the Lough Fish Preservation Association.
Right.
Like the founders of our club at that stage, Colonel Gettins, George Atchison was the secretary. They realised the need to, I suppose it was a very different time back then. You didn't have the laws, the regulations that we have now. And I suppose at that time, with the increasing pressures coming on the fishery, they realised the need to do something about it. So the club was set up, and they managed the spawning streams. They paid bailiffs. They gathered money. They paid bailiffs to police them. At that time, during spawning season, you'd have poachers up the streams trying to take trout from them to put on the table.
So the actual work as such, like the gravel to be put in there, who literally put that in then? Is the club or is actual...
That was done by IFI.
IFI, they actually do it?
Yes, well, everything has to be done in conjunction with IFI. You can't just go in and do this on your own.
You don't just ask for funding, they actually do it?
Well, we're planning on doing a stream this year. We can talk and walk through that later on ourselves. But the initial habitat assessment will be done by IFI.
Right.
So they came out, they walked this. We've done it there last weekend. We walked the stream. We talk about it and discuss what needs and what improvements we can make.
Yeah.
And they do up a habitat assessment plan, and then we will be working to that plan. But look, it takes a lot of money.
Yeah,
it takes a lot of money.
It's a lovely brook, this, isn't it?
Sorry,
it's a lovely brook. Was it about a metre wide, maybe? If that,
that's it.
Less than that.
You can walk across this in most places. Step across it.
Would this dry up in the summer?
No, this one doesn't. Others do. Portions of other streams do, and that's another challenge. I suppose you have to rescue fry and get in during the summer in low water, but this one, thankfully, doesn't.
It's good to see these fences as well, like the new fences.
Oh, it's fantastic.
You don't think, as a fisherman, you don't think, I'm going to stop the cows, I'm going in there.
Yeah, well, you see, before this fence was up, that was completely open, and you can see there's no shading, there's no tree growth along the edge of the river because it wasn't fenced.
215, Jackie Mons. So how long would it take to build a boat from scratch?
Well, again, it depends on the size of the boat. The ordinary 19-foot Corrib boat, or from Corrib or Sheelan or Mask or whatever you want to put it, the ordinary 19-foot of those would take me about 3 weeks to do the work, and then a week or 10 days to sand and paint and varnish.
I thought it'd take longer than that.
Not when you get set up now,
I suppose being doing it so long.
Yeah.
Do you stick with the same template then? You got the same pattern?
For the 19-foot boat that I build, people seem to be very happy with it.
Yeah.
So I stick to that.
It's the 19 I've got.
Yeah.
Has it changed the design since the early days when you started?
A little, not enough since I started, but before that, those boats were narrower, and they were narrow, and students like that on them.
Oh yeah.
Because there was no engines at that time. That was before the war. There was no engines, and when tourists came to Dapping season or the fly fishing, it took 2 men to row the boat, like you say, and that's the way they get them so narrow and streamlined. And then as the time went on and the engines started to come in, we had to expand them to accommodate the engine, like you say.
A big thanks to all my patrons and guests who have taken part in 2025. And here's to a successful new season to you all. I hope you're having a fantastic Christmas and a very happy New Year. That's all for now. Tight lines, and may they always be up in the wave.